Something that I always see in stores around this time of year are those little stuffed polar bears with the Coke bottles, or holiday themed Coke bottles, and I thought, why not play the polar bear of Unova? So let's see how Beartic does in a solo run of Pokemon Black. Rules are in the description. Beartic is one of those Pokemon I never thought about when I played these games for the first time. Its pre-evolution Cubchoo is pretty cute though. When I first sat down to play this Pokemon, I had some discussions with Shadow Stitch, and I got a bit excited because of the level 1 moves, until I realized that I won't have access to Aqua Jet and Superpower until I reach Mistralton and can heart scale them back on. But hey, having a priority water move for a Pokemon with a good attack stat and low speed stat is nice, until you realize that this thing doesn't get Aqua Jet in Black and White 1, only Black and White 2. With the exception of that move though, the learn set is the same between the two games. I would have loved to have a priority move though, especially with 50 base speed. Looking at Beartic's level up moves, it's a mix of physical and special options. We start with Growl, Bide, Icy Wind, and Powder Snow. We get our first new move at 17 in Fury Swipes, Brine at 21, which will be nice for some of those fire types we see early on. If you're wondering what ones, go check out my Cavalier video. Endure at 25, Swagger at 29, which Smash Math actually suggested this move to me as a possible way to get around some walls, Slash at 33, Flail at 36, our first stab physical option in Icicle Crash at 37, Rest at 41, Blizzard at 45, Hail at 53, Thrash at 59, and Sheer Cold at 66. Beartic is also in the medium fast level up group, so by the time I defeat both of my rivals in my bedroom, I'm still only level 5. However, once I defeat N for the first time, I level up to 7, and I'm going to continue with the early game training. Since I replaced Snivy, I'll be going up against Chili and his Pansear in Striaton City. My goal is that I can hopefully get past the Pansear at level 12, although I'm probably going to need 13 for damage rounding threshold purposes. I'm going to battle every trainer on Route 2, Bianca, the Dreamyard trainers, and Charon. At the end of all of this, I enter the gym at level 11. Just under halfway to level 12, but I do reach level 12 by the time I defeat all of the gym trainers. Alright, time to face Chili and see how this one goes. Lillipup is first. I can knock it out over 3 turns and barely miss hitting level 13 as Pansear comes out. Since it's faster, I go for Icy Wind to lower its speed, and now I'm going to go for Bide. My hope is that I'll get hit with 1 or 2 Incinerates and that will be enough to defeat it, but it just goes for workup during my 3-turn Bide, and has 4 total set up to this point. I just start using Powder Snow hoping for a freeze, which I don't get, and Pansear eventually goes for Incinerate, doing massive damage, and I'm surprised that didn't one-shot me, but in the end, I lose this battle. I decide to take the Blackout because I want the experience, and in the second battle, Lillipup is able to do a bit of damage to me with workup boosted bite. The one positive though is that I am able to get him to burn his potion on it, and when I knock it out, I level up to 13, which now speed ties me with Pansear. Once again, I try Bide strats, and again, Pansear just sets up workup. This looks like it's going to be a repeat of the first battle, as I try to get a freeze chance with Powder Snow, but I decide to just roll the dice again with Bide. Pansear hits hard with an Incinerate, and then goes for workup, and Beartic releases energy, annihilating the elemental monkey and earning me the first badge. It's a shame that Beartic can't learn workup. I feel like it should. Like, why can't a bear get worked up? I'm sure they're pretty worked up before they maul humans if anyone is stupid enough to get close to one. Oh well. We will get access to a better setup move later on. Skipping ahead past the Dreamyard stuff, before I take a dive into the TMs and abilities, I want to point out one thing I did in this run that I picked up from Shadow Stitch, which is picking up the Balm Mushroom, which I'll be able to sell later on for a lot of money, because for some of the TMs I want, I'm going to need it. Okay, now let's talk about TMs as I do a bit of daycare training in the background. Beartic gets a wide variety of coverage and gets setup moves in Hone Claws, Bulk Up, and Swords Dance. Unfortunately, those 3 TMs are all in the post game, but for this channel, that means we will have it for round 2 of the league in Cynthia. It has some nice physical options in Dig, Brick Break, Aerial Ace, Shadow Claw, Stone Edge, and Bulldoze, just to name a few. And we have a wide variety of special moves as well, like Ice Beam and Blizzard, but I'm not going to be using special moves much later on, partly because of the jolly nature I went for this playthrough, lowering my special attack stat to raise my speed, but also because Beartic's physical attack stat is 40 points higher than its special attack stat. It did get a buff in later generations to 130 base attack, and I wish I had that for today's playthrough. Now let's quickly talk abilities. In modern Pokemon, its abilities are either Snow Cloak, which raises your evasion during hail, or Slush Rush, which raises your speed. I would have loved to have Slush Rush for this playthrough, but Beartic only gets access to this ability in Gen 7 and onward, so I chose the next best thing, its hidden ability Swift Swim, which boosts your speed in the rain, and Beartic can learn Rain Dance if you paid attention to the TM list. I won't be able to make use of this ability until Mistralton when I can purchase the TM, and it's not going to show its full potential until the post-game. And there was a second move on that list that I ended up picking up to pair with Rain Dance that I'll touch on later. Okay, training over. Now we have our second rival battle against Charon. This battle is a bit slow. Despite Tepig having Ember, it decides to use its other moves like Tail Whip and Defense Curl. I was hoping it would just use Ember over and over and that a 2-turn bide would take it out, but I eventually knock it out with Icy Wind and quickly take out Purloin. Taking the quick trip to Wellspring Cave to chase away Team Plasma, I catch myself a Roggenrola and Woobat. I grab the glitched rare candy and head into Nakarine City. I deposit my HM users and head west of the city because I'm going to do some training, along with grabbing some PP restoring items for later. I make sure to grab the TM for Rock Smash because it'll give me super effective damage against Lenora and her gym trainers, and I teach this move in the place of Fury Swipes. There are two trainers, Black Belt Kintaro and Battle Girl Lee, who have a single Timber that have both low kick and rock throw. I only end up battling Lee, and she doesn't give me any problems because I'm able to 2-shot Timber, and it just goes for focus energy. This gets me to level 19, and I decided that was good enough and head back into the city. I have to battle N before I can enter the gym. He's not a problem, as well as Lenora's gym trainers, but the toughest gym leader in Unova will prove otherwise. Her lead is Herdier, which lowers my attack one stage thanks to Intimidate. I open with a Powder Snow to see if I can get a freeze, but I don't, as it hits me with Takedown. But I'm able to 2-shot the dog thanks to Rock Smash getting a critical hit. I level up to 21 and can learn Brine, which I decide to replace with Powder Snow, because I think Bide will still have some use. Like right now, I go for it against Watchog, but 2 Retaliates are more than enough to defeat Beartic. Of course, I'm going to take the Blackout, because this will be the quickest way to level past the Watchog. Or I could get lucky in a battle, like the very next attempt. Once again, I'm able to 2-shot Herdier thanks to a defense drop from my first Rock Smash, and I still have the Chesto Berry from my last battle because I felt hopeful. Retaliate hits hard, doing about 2/3, as Rock Smash scores a critical hit and drops Watchog's defense. Since she's going to heal it with a Super Potion, I go for Icy Wind to lower its speed and see if I can get the outspeed, which I do. Rock Smash brings Watchog to red health. It goes for Hypnosis, which hits, but my Chesto Berry cures the status condition. Lenora is a second try victory. I went on a bit of a rant earlier regarding Beartic and that it can't learn Workup, but it can't learn Retaliate either. This move to me feels like one of those attacks that every Pokemon can learn, like the Bide TM in Generation 1, or Substitute. Oh Game Freak, why? Anyway, let's jump ahead to Pinwheel Forest. As I chase after Team Plasma to recover the stolen Dragon Skull from the museum, I'm going to battle the Rangers here for Chesto and Pecha Berries, which will be useful later on. When I was discussing this run with Shadow Stitch, we talked a bit about Grass Knot, which is a TM you can pick up here. He considered it, but I didn't think Beartic needed it due to the coverage it gets later by TM, and he agreed. We both skipped it for our runs, and that's really all I have to say about Pinwheel for now, so let's go go ahead and pick things up in Castelia. After grabbing the Rest and Flash TMs, I head to the Battle Company to grab the Scope Lens, an item that will boost crit chances. After getting Bianca's Muna back, I head to Castelia Gym. The trainers here don't give Beartic any problems. The Venipedes are annoying though because they seem to poison me every battle. Hopefully Berg doesn't have that same luck, or we could be in trouble. Whirlipede is his lead. Icy Wind is going to be a 3-shot, but he's going to heal it with a Hyper Potion due to this. Its Poison Tail surprisingly doesn't do much despite hitting me with a Screech turn 1, and it also doesn't poison. During the healing turn, I use Brine because I want to save some Icy Wind PP for Leavanny, but I can afford to use at least one more on Whirlipede, and it gets a critical hit taking out his lead. Dwebble is next, and the Rock Crab is one-shot by Brine. Last is his ace. Icy Wind does over half, as Razor Leaf scores a critical hit, and Beartic barely survives with 2 HP. Berg gave me quite a scare there. I have a battle with Bianca as I try to leave, and she actually defeats me. I can't remember the last time, if ever, I've lost this battle. I didn't stop by the Pokemon Center or use an item to top off my PP, and I got punished by dwund. I used my remaining PP of Rock Smash on it as Bianca heals it with Super Potions. The only attacking moves I have left are Brine and Icy Wind, which deal not very effective damage, and it eventually gets a critical hit with Razor Shell, taking me out. I'm going to take my third blackout of this run, since it will transport me back to the Castelia Center. I can heal up my PP and just run back to the north end of town, and I get lucky in this second battle, because Bianca doesn't use any of her Super Potions. Thanks to me getting a critical hit on dwund with my third Rock Smash, I can 2-shot Muna from here and 1-shot Pansear. So let's move on to Charon. The battle in the desert can be difficult for some Pokemon. His middle stage starter, especially when it's the Tepig line, always seems to give me trouble. Brine does half before it heals up with its Citrus Berry. Flame Charge doesn't do as much as I thought it would, but Pignite is now faster, but it just goes for Defense Curl, and while Brine can't knock it out, the Sandstorm can. I easily one-shot Pansage with Icy Wind, and Liepard can't do much either, as Rock Smash just one-shots it. Before heading to Nimbasa, I'm going to make a pit stop at this house in the desert to grab the TM for Dig. I think it could be useful against Elisa. I have a battle against Plasma Grunts once I enter Nimbasa, and after knocking out the first Grunt's Watchhog, I level up to 29 and can learn Swagger. And I decide to teach this move because my thought process was that certain trainers might wall Beartic later, and confusion could be handy for them. After defeating the Grunts and getting the bike, I can purchase the TM for return from the Pokemon Center, grab the HM for strength, play dress up with Bianca, and then have a day date with N on the Ferris wheel. And of course, battle him at the end. And N surprises me in this one, but it's mostly from user error. For some reason, I switched to return on Darumaka instead of sticking with Brine, and it hits me with Fire Punch doing half. Considering Darumaka has 45 in both defenses, and Return has a power of 88 currently, maybe it doesn't matter. Return also can't one-shot Scraggy as Brick Break brings me to a quarter. I finish the fighting type and move on to Sigilif. It's faster, so unless Return one-shots, I'm finished, which it doesn't, and I take a fourth blackout. The second battle plays out just like the first, with me once again switching to Return on Darumaka, but because of its hustle ability, thank you comments for letting me know that from the Cavalier video, it misses. I finish it, 2-shot Scraggy with Return, and this time I use Icy Wind on Sigilif so I can get the outspeed and not have any more surprises. Elisa's Roller Coaster Gym. The trainers here don't give Beartic any problems. I made sure to stock up on Paralyze Heals when I bought the Return TM from the Pokemon Center to be on the safe side. But a quick question for anybody who's played Legend ZA. Do you feel like Canary was based off Elisa? I feel like having played Black and White 2 and seeing her in the anime, there are some similarities. I'd say one big one, in the anime, Elisa's ace is Tynamo, Canary's is Electros. Same evolution line, they're both electric type specialists and are some type of major battle. I'm sure if there were gym leader rematches, Elisa would have an Electros. I could name more, but let's try to earn our fourth badge. Her lead is the annoying Emolga. It's faster, so it's able to hit me with Volt Switch, and it switches out for her Ace Zebstrika. But this is perfect, because my Icy Wind lowers the referee's speed. I also taught Dig before this battle, just for this thing, and Dig is able to finish off her Ace, and while I accidentally use Dig when Emolga comes back out, and despite Volt Switch getting a crit once, they can't stand up to the power of Beartic's Icy Winds. I have a battle with Charon as I try to leave town. This battle is pretty easy though, so let's just move on. Driftville City. There are a few items I want to pick up my first time here. The Expert Belt from the market, the PP up in the trash can, the Ether, the Protein, the Heart Scale behind the cold storage, and the Never Melt Ice inside the cold storage after you defeat Team Plasma. As I go through Clay's gym, I want to talk about a TM that's found in the cold storage, which is the TM for Scald, which Beartic can't learn, despite this thing learning Brine by Level Up and Surf and Dive by HM. Why can't it learn Scald? Make it make sense, Game Freak. Also, if you've been paying attention to the footage, you'll notice that I've battled some extra trainers in the gym. I was hoping to reach level 37 before battling Clay so I could get Icicle Crash, although it won't have much use against Excadrill or Palpitoad. Earlier in the playthrough, I talked about the Grassknot TM, and Clay was the trainer that Shadow Stitch was considering it for. Now, before you comment anything about how you think it's the right or wrong play, just remember that we play by different rule sets. He plays evolution lines while I play single species, and strategies will be different, but I think Brine and Dig should be more than enough. Rock is first. Brine leaves it on low red health as it hits me with Swagger. This is great because the attack boost should allow me to one-shot Excadrill with Dig, and I would have one-shot Rock with Return had I just used it, but I just keep going for Brine. While doing this does allow me to have Clay burn through all of his Hyper Potions, I do hit myself once in confusion, and Rock is able to lower my speed with Bulldoze, which will allow Excadrill to outspeed me, and hit me with a Crunch, bringing me under half health before it faints. He sends out his ace next. It sets up with Hone Claws turn 1, which is great for me because I can go underground as it misses Rock Slide and Dig takes it out. Last is Palpitoad. It wastes its only turn in battle going for Aqua Ring as Return one-shots. I level up to 37 at the end of the battle and can learn Icicle Crash, which I teach in the place of Brine. Rival battle with Bianca. This one's also easy. Let's move on. Chargestone Cave. I'm going to talk to the Nugget Brothers here and get a free 10k in the form of 2 nuggets. With Mistralton right around the corner, I want to have enough money for the Rain Dance TM. I should note that I haven't sold the Balm Mushroom yet, and while going through the Plasma Gauntlet here, I actually looked it up on my phone where it's sold because I had forgotten, since it's an item that I never pick up. But you sell it to the lady in the trailer west of Nimbasa, and you can do it right after the Charon fight and double battle there. Of course, while in Chargestone Cave, I have to pick up my favorite item, the Bright Powder, along with an extra rare candy. I have a battle with N as I try to exit. I taught Bulldoze over Dig before this battle, just so I have something that isn't making the battle take longer, while still giving me super effective damage against the steel types, and this battle isn't a challenge. I finish it in green health. Once I enter Mistralton, I grab all of my HM users out of the PC, but I haven't purchased the Rain Dance TM just yet. I want to go through Route 7 and the Celestial Tower first. I'm going to grab a PP restoring item along the way, along with a PP up that I plan on putting into Icicle Crash later. And the Celestial Tower also has a TM that I think will be useful for Beartic, which is the Shadow Claw TM. This will probably come in handy for the League when I have to face Chantal and Caitlyn. I ring the bell at the top of the tower to send Skyla back to her gym, backtrack to sell the Balm Mushroom so that I have enough money to buy the Rain Dance TM, and then crush Skyla. You didn't think an Ice type was going to struggle against a Flying type specialist, did you? Before leaving town, I make sure to grab the Aerial Ace TM, along with the hidden Max Ether. I have a battle with Charon before entering Twist Mountain. This battle can normally be difficult, But this is another easy rival battle. I imagine once he has an Emboar in the next battle, things are going to be different. Okay, Winter Twist Mountain, Beartic is right at home. Grab the rare candy, the substitute TM, enter Icera City and get the Brick Break TM from the old woman in the Pokemon Center, grab the candy south of the gym, and enter the gym and face Bryson. Vanillish is his lead. Brick Break one-shots it. It's Beartic versus Beartic. Brick Break leaves it on low red health and it hits me with Swagger, boosting my attack 2 stages but also confusing me. Bryson heals up his ace with a Hyper Potion, and I hit myself twice while also taking a slash from Beartic to bring me to 23 HP before I snap out of confusion and knock it out. Last is Cryogonal. It's faster. Am I about to lose to Bryson? It goes for Aurora Beam, and despite a crit, Beartic survives with 2 HP. Brick Break annihilates the Snowflake. I'm not looking forward to running that thing. Dragon Spiral Tower. I tried to think of a good Yu-Gi-Oh bit for this video that I tend to do with all of my Gen 5 runs, but the best bear monster that came to mind was Mother Grizzly from the old Magic Ruler set. Also, I was thinking about trying to do some challenge runs in a game like Eternal Duelist Soul, like trying to beat the game with only cards from the Blue Eyes pack or Metal Raiders or Magic Ruler. Let me know if you'd be interested in something like that. I know in the last video, I got some comments saying that they would be interested in seeing some retro achievements on Pokemon games, and I'd like to try to get to that, especially doing the trading card game. But back to the Yu-Gi-Oh bit, I tried to look up other ice monsters in the game and found Armored White Bear. What happened to the days of just basic monsters like Summon Skull and Blue Eyes White Dragon? The game has just evolved so much. Kind of like Pokemon. Oh well, we have a cutscene at the top of the tower with N and Zekrom, and now it's time to fly back to Nimbasa for a few things before heading to Relic Castle, like the Anvil Town Candy, Route 16 Candy, Desert Resort Candy, battling this ranger for a Rost Berry, and finally grabbing this Heart Scale. We chase Getsus to the bottom of Relic Castle, get the Lightstone from Lenora, grab the Pinwheel Candy and Route 2 Candy, before facing Bianca for the final time before we can enter Opelucid City. Even after Intimidate lowers my attack 1 stage, I can still 2-shot Stoutland with Brick Break and 1-shot Simisear thanks to a critical hit, but things fall apart at Samurott. I keep putting it in healing range, and Bianca uses 2 full restores against her fully evolved water type, and it's able to outpace me due to this, and I lose to Bianca. I teach Bulldoze in the place of Brick Break before the next battle, on the off chance Samurott chooses something other than Aqua Jet, which might give me the win, and Bulldoze does one better. It doesn't one-shot Simisear, causing Bianca to use her full restores on it and have none for Samurott, while the fully evolved water type does go for Aqua Jet once. Thanks to Bulldoze, I do outspeed it when it doesn't choose the priority move and 3-shot it. Musharna is last, and I 3-shot the Psychic type as well. Opelucid City Gym. The only thing I need to mention here is the extremely stupid choice I made against Ace Trainer Dara here. Or is it pronounced Dara? Either way, it was more of an input error. After knocking out her Dino, I kept my cursor on return for Druddigan instead of switching to Icicle Spear, and it gets a critical hit revenge, annihilating Beartic. And I have to take another blackout, which is pretty frustrating. I do get revenge in the next battle though. This time, I just leave my cursor on Icicle Crash. Drayden. His dragons don't stand a chance against an ice type, although I did get worried with the amount of misses I was getting on Haxorus as it was setting up Dragon Dance. But Dragon Tail has decreased priority, which is why I moved first on that final turn. As I head towards Victory Road, I have one final battle against Charon, and Swagger is going to finally be used in battle, but not this attempt. Instead of using it on Emboar, I go for Bulldoze, which brings it into blaze range and Flamethrower does massive damage. While I can knock out his fire starter, Simisage is faster, and Seed Bomb takes me out. In the next battle, I hit Emboar with Swagger, and it gets through the confusion to hit me with Flamethrower, but the next turn, it does hit itself to knock itself out. And while I am able to get by Simisage in this battle, thanks to it being faster and hitting me with a Seed Bomb, I have 23 HP left, and Liepard is faster and Night Slash takes me out. You can see how frustrating this battle is. Maybe teaching Surf for this battle would have been the better play. Emboar makes quick work of me in battle number 3, but in the 4th battle, it hits itself turn 1 in confusion. I go for Bulldoze, which leaves it on a sliver and brings it into Blaze range, but Emboar hits itself again, giving me green health for Simisage and Liepard. Only Simisage gets an attack off, going for Seed Bomb, as Icicle Crash one-shots both of them. In Victory Road, I'm going to do the usual, pick up the rare candy, and take a few optional battles. Beartic is level 57 as it reaches the league. I would have preferred to come in at 58 to be above a damage rounding threshold, but I do have 10 candies to this point, so Beartic should be alright. Now, let's face the league. Caitlyn is up first. I taught Shadow Claw for this battle to have super effective damage against her Pokemon, and while I sprinkle in a return and Icicle Crash here and there, I can either 1 or 2 shot her entire team. This battle was easier than I thought. After taking 2 bad losses to Chantal, I try my luck with Grimsley. I thought about heart scaling back on Superpower for this battle, but I'm going to save that for round 2. I have to 2-shot Scrafty with Brick Break, as it hits me with its own Brick Break. Crocodile's next, and Intimidate lowers my attack. It's faster, and Earthquake brings me to nearly a quarter, but even with the attack drop, Icicle Crash one-shots. Beartic is faster than Bisharp, and even at -1, the 4-time super effective Brick Break one-shots it. Last is Liepard. It gets off a Fake Out and then goes for Night Slash that brings Beartic to 7 HP, as Brick Break leaves it on a sliver. And I thought it was over from here, but Grimsley uses a full restore, and my next Brick Break gets a better roll to one-shot. Before facing Chantal again, I decide to pop rare candies, going from level 59 to 65, and also teaching Substitute. I want to make sure I have a sub in place for when Chantal sends out her Ace Chandelure, but also to block Will-O-Wisp from the coffin. Even with the Never Melt Ice on, I can't one-shot it, but I do get her to burn through all of her full restores on her lead. And while I do have to re-establish Substitute once, to my surprise, after I knock out her coffin, Beartic just shreds the rest of her team. I wasn't expecting that. And now we have Marshall. This one is over pretty quickly. I start by missing Icicle Crash, and while my next leaves Throw on a sliver, it hits me with 2 Stone Edges, and while it doesn't knock me out, I reset because I know I'm not winning this one. I am able to make it by Throw in the next battle, but then Sawk just no-scopes 2 Stone Edges to finish me. It's time to bring out the swag, in the form of Swagger. I go for it on Throw, who hits itself, and Icicle Crash can finish it. I have to use it again against Sawk, and I get lucky with it hitting itself, bypassing Sturdy and letting Icicle Crash finish it. I wasn't sure if Icicle Crash would one-shot Conkeldurr, and it will probably one-shot me if it doesn't, but I get a critical hit, so it doesn't matter. I level up to 66 and can learn Sheer Cold. I gave this move consideration when I first sat down to play this Pokemon, but as I progressed through the playthrough, I felt like Beartic didn't need it. Although if I were to ever redo this run, I probably would teach it. I forego learning it for now. Last is Mienshao, and Icicle Crash one-shots. Third try victory on Marshall. It's weird to say that Chantal gave me as much trouble as him, in terms of overall attempts that is. Although just using candies solved her pretty easily, I think overall, the league wasn't bad for Beartic. Before I take on N though, I'm going to pop 5 candies in my bag, which include the one I pick up in his castle, to bring Beartic to level 71. I'm also going to change up my moveset: Icicle Crash, Brick Break, Swagger, and Substitute. After I capture Reshiram and send it to the box, it's time to face N. N is actually really easy. I just play this first battle really stupid. I shouldn't be using Swagger on Zekrom. I should just be attacking right away. I also don't need to go for Substitute in this battle. Overall, just bad play on my part. While I do knock out 2 of N's Pokemon, Caracosta just gets me when I can't one-shot it thanks to Sturdy. So here's how the battle should look. One-shot Zekrom with Icicle Crash, one-shot Zoroark with Brick Break, 2 or really 3-shot Caracosta with Brick Break because of Sturdy and the full restore, 1-shot Archeops with Icicle Crash, 1-shot Vanillix with Brick Break, and 2-shot Klinklang with Brick Break. Sometimes overthinking can cloud your mind to the simplest solutions. It can happen in the workplace, life, and in Pokemon, and that definitely happened in that first battle. But right now, my mind is focused on defeating Ghetsis and having Beartic clock in with its round 1 time. It's time for the final battle. Cofagrigus is first, set up sub to block Toxic, and it's times like this I wish I had a setup move, but Icicle Crash one-shots it. Next is Hydreigon. It's faster and breaks my sub with Focus Miss. And I know I just talked about being focused, but for some reason I switched to Brick Break. I have no idea why. Ghetsis uses a full restore and I use Brick Break again. Focus Blast hits hard, but Beartic survives with orange health and I take out his ace, along with the following Bisharp and Electros, but then Bouffalant hangs on from a Brick Break and it takes me out with Head Charge, which also takes it out from the recoil. I decide to take the Blackout because I don't want to recatch Reshiram, rebattle N, go through all those cutscenes again, and I can just deposit my HM users, save, and walk back to reinitiate the battle. Once again, I'm going to set up sub on the Coffin. There's a bit of back and forth as I get Ghetsis to use his full restore, but the most important part of this battle is that I have my sub in place for Hydreigon. It breaks my sub with Focus Miss and I take a bit of a risk here. I go for Swagger on it in hopes that it hits itself, and it doesn't. Fire Blast does just over 100 HP, and I set up another sub, bringing me to 12 HP for the remainder of the battle, and if I lose my sub, I'm probably going to lose. Hydreigon does hit itself, and I can finish it with a Brick Break, but Sharp and Electros are still one-shots, and we can move right on to Bouffalant. Brick Break leaves it on low red health, and it goes for Earthquake, which doesn't break my sub. I finish it off and move on to his final Pokemon Seismitoad, which Icicle Crash one-shots. Beartic finishes the main game with a real time of 1 hour, 49 minutes, and 1 second. At level 73, with an in-game time of 6 hours and 36 minutes. Honestly, if I were to replay this one, there are a lot of things I would change, aside from some inconsistent play near the end. But for now, Beartic finds itself in the D tier with Superior, who's definitely going to rank up once I rerun the starters sometime in the new year. But now it's time to see how Beartic does in the post-game. First things first, a quick trip to Route 18 for the Waterfall HM. Also, I'm going to point this out really quick. My stats look a little wonky on the right hand side of the screen here. I had the settings open in PokeLink before I started this run and didn't close them. I do fix this before the post game is over. Sorry about that. Next, it's a trip to Striaton City in the Dream Yard so I can find the Sage, Gorm, and pick up the TM for Swords Dance. Finally, a setup move. Next, I head to Lostlorn Forest to grab the Waterfall Candy, a quick trip to Driftville for the Shell Bell along with this hidden heart scale in the market, then to the Abundant Shrine for another rare candy, and finally to Undella Town. There's a girl outside of Cynthia's house, and if you talk to her, she gives you the HM for Dive. I ended up not using this move, but I thought I would need it for a trainer like Alder to pair with Rain Dance, just to give me super effective damage against Volcarona. While in Undella Town, I deposit my HM users and prepare to face Cynthia. If you can consistently knock out 3 of her Pokemon, then she's the best source of experience in the post-game before taking on round 2 of the league, and if you have a setup move that you can establish behind Substitute and outspeed her team, it's more than likely you'll clean sweep her. In this first attempt, I'm only able to take out her Lucario in Spiritomb. It would have been the Garchomp as well, but Icicle Crash missed. In the next battle though, I'm able to take out 4 of her Pokemon before making it to the Milotic, which knocks me out. If I'm going to win this battle though, it's important I have a substitute in place because the Spiritomb breaks my sub in the next battle and Lucario easily finishes me. Although I am blacking out against her, I'm still gauging how difficult she is, and I make it to her final Pokemon Braviary in the next battle, so I know I'm getting close to defeating her, but I black out to level 79 and then get this battle. I've changed up my learn set to Icicle Crash, Swords Dance, Rain Dance, and Substitute. I want to establish Substitute, set up to +6, set up Rain Dance in case Spiritomb breaks my sub, which it does, and hopefully sweep. And thanks to the Swift Swim ability, I can outspeed the Lucario and Garchomp. And even though the rain stops on Electros, Beartic is faster, and I've made it back to Milotic. I set up the rain again, as it goes for Dragon Tail, but I don't have any HM users so it can't switch me out, and at +6 and level 80, Icicle Crash one-shots the water type even though it resists the move. Last is Braviary, and Icicle Crash easily one-shots. Cynthia is defeated. I do a bit more training north of Undella Town to level 81 and use my 2 remaining candies to get to level 83. Before I take on round 2 of the league though, I'm going to visit the move reminder in Mistralton. I'm going to use 2 of the heart scales I picked up to reteach Swagger and Superpower. Once I have these 2 moves back on my learn set, I'm ready for round 2 of the league, and I'm going to try my luck with Grimsley first, because I heart-scaled Superpower back on with this battle and Alder in mind. The thing with Grimsley is that his lead is actually somewhat trouble for Beartic. Sharpedo is fast and hits hard. If I were to set up the Rain turn 1, I'd be boosting the power of its Waterfall, but I also only have 1, maybe 2 turns to set up with Swords Dance, and if Waterfall flinches me, then it's GG's. This is a battle where perhaps I should have the Shell Bell on for some extra recovery. I am able to make it to his 3rd Pokemon Drapion, who's faster and finishes off Beartic with a crunch. I try again, this time trying Swagger against his lead, and while it does hit itself once, it snaps out of confusion the very next turn, hits Beartic with Waterfall that does massive damage, and I knock myself out thanks to its Rough Skin ability. I took 6 total losses to Grimsley before trying my luck with another member. Maybe I'll have better luck against Caitlyn. I do remember to put the Shell Bell on for this battle, and start by setting up Swords Dance as Musharna puts me to sleep. Thankfully I'm only asleep for a turn and only get hit by 1 Dream Eater and set up to +4 when I wake up. She has 2 steel types in the back, and I don't know if a +4 Icicle Crash or Superpower will be enough. I am able to one-hit Musharna and Reuniqueless with Icicle Crash, and while Sigilif is going to be a one-shot as well, its Flash Cannon does exactly 100 HP of damage, which I heal back some of that lost HP thanks to the Shell Bell, but then she sends out Bronzong. While Icicle Crash doesn't one-shot it, it gets the flinch. What I should have done next is set up Swords Dance during the full restore turns, but instead I use Icicle Crash and then set up when she's out of healing items, allowing Bronzong to fire off a Flash Cannon that hits hard. I knock out the Steel type and move on to the other, Metagross, and at +6, Superpower does get the one-shot. Last is Gothitelle, and I can just go for Icicle Crash, getting the one-shot as well. I did try Grimsley again, but still wasn't making it past Sharpedo or Drapion, so I try my luck with Chantal. I have a Ross Berry on, expecting her lead Cofagrigus to burn me with Will-O-Wisp, but it just goes for Shadow Ball 3 times, allowing me to set up to +6, and from here, she's a clean sweep. Icicle Crash even one-shots her Chandelure, Jellicent, and Frostlass, all of whom resist the move, and only the Frostlass is faster than Beartic, but its Shadow Ball doesn't pack enough of a punch. Alright, Grimsley time again. I've deleted Swagger for Rain Dance, because it just doesn't have the same use like it did in round 1. I also forgot to put the Shell Bell on before this battle. I start by setting up to +4 with Swords Dance, and then I take a bit of a risk by setting up the Rain. Sharpedo thankfully goes for Night Slash, which doesn't crit, and at +4 with the Rain setup, I'm faster than it, Scrafty, Drapion, and Crocodile, who are all one-shots before the rain stops and Liepard comes out. It hits me with a Fake Out, and I was expecting it to go for Night Slash, but it chooses Aerial Ace, which leaves Beartic at 30 HP. I take it out and move on to his Ace Bisharp, which Superpower easily one-shots. Alright, round 2 Marshall, and I think I have a good plan for this one. My moveset is Icicle Crash, Swords Dance, Rain Dance, and Substitute, and I remembered to put the Shell Bell on. Turn 1, I want to set up Substitute because Breloom likes to use Spore turn 1, which sub will block. I can set up to +2 as Breloom breaks my sub with a Sky Uppercut, but now I want to re-establish sub because Marshall's AI with this thing likes to use Spore if you don't have a status condition, or perhaps it uses it if it doesn't see the KO with one of its moves. I don't know Gen 5 AI, so maybe someone in the comments or Shadow Stitch can explain this one to me. Now, behind my sub, I'm going to set up the Rain, and Breloom misses a Sky Uppercut, which is perfect, because I want to have a substitute in place for Sawk, which is going to come out third after I knock out the Mienshao, and Icicle Crash against this thing gets the flinch. I'm getting all the luck in this battle. Marshall burns through his healing items as his blue fighter is defeated. Icicle Crash easily one-shots Throw, but Conkeldurr hangs on from a +2 Icicle Crash, and it goes for Hammer Arm, breaking my sub, and my heart stopped for a second because Icicle Crash misses, and I thought Hammer Arm was going to obliterate me, but it misses as well, giving Beartic life as we move on to his final Pokemon, Toxicroak. Once again, I miss an Icicle Crash as Low Sweep is going to 3-shot me and lowers my speed, giving Toxicroak the outspeed, but it misses the next turn, and Icicle Crash comes through, one-shotting his final Pokemon. A first try on Marshall with an Ice type. Now that's something. I expected him to give me the problems that Grimsley did, but the league aside from Grimsley was a cakewalk. But now we have Alder. I'm going to roll with my current moveset of Icicle Crash, Swords Dance, Rain Dance, and Substitute, while keeping the Shell Bell on. I have a feeling I'm going to need the healing for this one. Now, let's get Beartic across the finish line by defeating the strongest trainer in Unova. Excelgor is the lead. This thing is very annoying and has caused problems for almost every Pokemon I've run in Gen 5. I was expecting a turn 1 focus miss, but it goes for me first, which fails because I didn't choose an attacking move. I can set up the Rain, outspeed, and one-shot his lead, and he sends in his ace Volcarona next. Because it doesn't see the KO due to the Rain being active, it's going to set up Quiver Dance, and I'm going to set up Swords Dance, but I take a bit of a risk setting up to +4, because after 2 turns of Quiver Dance, Volcarona now outspeeds and goes for Overheat, which misses, and Icicle Crash gets the knockout. I re-established the Rain on Druddigon, who I was expecting a superpower from, but it goes for Payback. And you already know Icicle Crash is easily going to one-shot the Dragon type. Up next is Bouffalant. Icicle Crash misses, and Stone Edge hits hard doing massive damage, and I thought I was going to lose the battle at this point, because I still have his Steel type Escavalier to deal with. I knock out the Buffalo and move on to Vanillux, who is one-shot by a +4 Icicle Crash despite resisting the move, and now it's time to face the Armored Bug. +6 would have one-shot this thing, but at +4, it hangs on with a Sliver, but I get the flinch. Alder heals his final Pokemon with a full restore, and as long as I don't miss, which I don't, we have first tried Alder. Beartic finishes the postgame with a real time of 34 minutes and 17 seconds at level 87 with a cumulative game time of 8 hours and 15 minutes. Overall, a solid performance from the polar bear. In terms of the postgame tier list, being 1 minute under the 1 hour and 40 minute threshold of additional game time, it finds itself in the C tier, which isn't bad. But as I mentioned after round 1, if I were to replay this thing, there are a lot of things I would change. I think I would teach Sheer Cold in the place of Swagger as soon as I'm done with round 1 of the league, because Swagger was really only useful in a few battles, and I thought it would do more, but that's how things go sometimes. You actually have to play the Pokemon and test things to see. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm not sure what the next run will be, if it will be another solo run or Nuzlocke. You'll just have to wait and see. As always, thank you for the continued support on the channel, and special shout out to the channel members. I'll catch you guys in my next one. Take care everybody, and happy holidays.